Hey guys, what's going on? They're going to be ranking all of the killers from worst to best. So let's get into it. The first killer at number 26 is going to be the Trickster. If you're going to play Trickster, I just don't. If you play Trickster, you're most likely going to get entity displaced every time, because he's just not a good killer and his power just isn't good. You've got to be like really experienced with good add-ons and good perks, actually, if you want to play Trickster well. Otherwise, you're just not going to get good. And yeah, Trickster is just, I'd say, the worst killer in the game. In number 25, we have the Trapper. Because he's been out for 6 years, Mr. Poster Boy is just not good. Because survivors have become key to all common bear trap locations, like trapping shack windows, pallets, or safe loops in tall grass. Everyone will just avoid it, and you'll rarely ever get any bear traps uses, because it's just that hard to get any. And if you want to actually get any bear trap locations, trap them in the safe loot where the safest place to run is, for the survivor's perspective. But if you're a new player, I would recommend you play Wraith instead, because he is a better killer, and he has a rework, and it's really good and powerful for him. So, moving on. In number 24, we have the Twins. The Twins just aren't really a good killer in my opinion, because Victor, he can't really do anything besides just jump on survivors' necks and let you see the aura. But all you can do is pounce, and then once you do pounce, you can just get kicked in the face, which isn't very nice. But I don't really think the Twins is that good, because chapter 18 and 19 just terrible. Right, in number 23 we have the Clown. So he has a recent rework where he has a second ball, the Afterpiece Antidote, which is not the best for him, because it only increases you and the survivor, which is the buff for Clown, because it boosts the survivor as well. Best thing to do is put your tonic at one side of the jungle gym and the antidote at the other, so it makes it really safe for you, because then the survivor might catch the speed, but then they will become slower, and then you will catch the speed, but you won't become slower, which is a real nice advantage for us. But Clown just really isn't fun or good in my opinion, so no, I'm gonna put him at number 23. Alright, at number 22, we have the Legion. So these came out at a recent time near Clown. They're just not good at all. And if you've played Legion, you'll know. Really, he's just not good. Well, they. So their power is called Feral Frenzy. So whenever they go into their power and they hit the survivor, they'll be afflicted with a deep wound status effect until they mend. And if they don't mend in 20 seconds, they will go down. But once you have hit someone, the Killer Instinct will proc on everyone in your terror radius. And power lasts for 10 seconds if I'm sure. I'm not sure. But Legion isn't a strong killer at all. He's really bad. So, 22 it is. I used to actually like Legion before his rework. He could actually hit multiple survivors and actually down them. But he's the only killer that you can't down with his ability, which isn't so nice. So, moving on. In number 21, we have another not so great killer, but it's none other than Freddy Krueger. I'm sorry for putting him this low, but he's just not the Freddy we wanted. He's the 2010 remake Freddy, which no one wanted. I didn't want the 2010, I wanted the first ever version of Freddy, because that was much better, but all the remakes are really bad. So if you're gonna if you're gonna put a license in the game, put it in their original form, please. His power, if you didn't know, is called Dream World. When the survivors go into the Dream World, they can go into the Dream World passively, Or you can hit them with your basic attack to make them go into the dream world. Or they can start in the dream world if you bring an add-on called the red paintbrush. It's an iridescent add-on only. So what it does is that when all survivors start in the dream world and failing skill checks does not reset your timer or wake you up. It's a really nice add-on to bring. Oh, the black box, that's a good add-on as well. He has really good add-ons, but his power by itself is really weak. So I wouldn't recommend... Freddy is a nice killer if you're just picking up the game. So I'd recommend buying Freddy, but the only thing is he's a licensed killer. So you have to pay for him with real money, unfortunately. So I would gravitate towards starting to learn like Wraith or Huntress, because they're really strong killers and they're not that hard to learn. So in number 20, I hate to put them this low, but the pig. They have a really nice ability. So Amanda can crouch and sneak up on survivors, which grants her the undetectable status effect. So when she does crouch, she can use another ability called ambush, which lets her dash at 6.9 meters per second, and if she hits a survivor within that time, they become injured. I would like it if they became... It'd be really cool if they either went down instantly or became in a deep wound state, because just injuring them isn't really the best. Like another passive to it, it'd be really nice for the pig. And they also have another ability, the reverse bear traps from the Saw movies. So when collecting a survivor's head and the generator is completed, they have a timer, and if they do not find a box and take the trap off their head in time, you're dead. Just dead. They will die instantly. So, yeah. Pig is a nice killer to learn when you're starting, because she's really fun, but her power doesn't really work at the top killers, like Nemesis Spirit. So yeah, moving on. In number 19, we have Demogorgon. I know he's leaving in like 3 days, but I love the Demogorgon, but I hate to put him this low. So his ability is called Channel Abyss. When he clicks it, or when you click it, you will get the ability to shred or see killer instinct on if anyone is near your portals. And if they are, then you can use another portal to teleport there and get a sneaky hit on them. Well, they'll see you emerging from the portal, but you'll gain distance on them eventually. And the shred only injures the survivor, but it gains a lot of distance if you're trying to catch up to them as well, which is really nice. And he has portals, which can be placed on the floor at any time. So whenever the Demogorgon places a portal and he looks in the direction of another portal, he can emerge from the ground and go through the upside down, which is just a black void, and then pop out of the other portal and become undetectable for 8 seconds without add-ons. His add-ons are really interesting, but I just don't think he's the best. Yeah, so moving on at number 18, Mr. New Killer, the Cenobite. He doesn't have a good ability. His ability fits his character, but it doesn't contend with any of the strong killers. So I wouldn't put it anywhere near the top, he's not the best. But I'd put him anywhere in mid-tier, because he's a nice killer to learn, but he's just not the best. So if you're going to gravitate towards Pinhead, you're going to need to use his chains, because you cannot injure survivors unless you have add-ons, but they can just grab survivors, and that's it. And it just locks them in place, but it only takes like 3 seconds, like less than 3 seconds to break. It takes about a second and a half. So he's just not a good killer if you're going to learn him. So I'd recommend choosing someone else. So moving on. So in number 17, I'm going to put Bubba. Around like Freddy, he's a good character to learn when you're starting the game, but Once you get good at the game, he is just not the best. And you can choose better killers, like Hillbilly, for example. Because Hillbilly's a really strong killer. And Bubba isn't. So, he has a chainsaw like Hillbilly. And he can extend charges, but only for a few seconds. Like, 2 seconds each. It's about 6 seconds for a chainsaw. And he moves at, if I'm not wrong, 5.29. But he gains passive speed. Yeah, I think it's 5.29 meters per second. Yeah, he's just not really a good killer when you're starting the game, because you'll most likely end up losing every game when you're playing Bubba. So you hit an object, you go into a tantrum, and then you lose all of your charges, and that's not really fun, is it? Yeah, I think that's all to say about Bubba. It's not the best at all. I wouldn't recommend Bubba at all. No, not one bit. Not recommending Bubba at all. I do play Bubba. He has really good perks if you do want them. For example, barbecue and chili. That lets you, when you hook a survivor, every survivor within 40 meters of you, you see that, like, outside of 40 meters of that hut, you can see that survivor. And he's a decent killer for beginners and even pros. I see a lot of people playing Bubba. I don't mind him myself. He has Franklin's Demise as well, which is brutal on Hag, because you can trap all the items. Because what Franklin's does is when you hit the survivor with an M1 basic attack, they drop all of their whatever they're holding. For example, a couple flashlights. And Hag can put 3 blackened catalysts around it. And yeah, they won't ever get the items back for a while. So yeah. Alright, in our number 16 spot, I'm going to put Mr. Thanos Man himself, Nemesis. He's a decent killer. It's one of the newer killers, but I wouldn't say gravitate towards him at all, because he isn't really a good killer, in my opinion. To be honest, Nemesis only has a tentacle strike, but you're not alone. You also have 2 AI zombies that assist you, and they can afflict the T-virus, but if they're already infected, then they will injure or down a survivor, just like Nemesis' tentacle. But Nemesis' hitbox is just bad. Just overall bad. You hit the survivor with your tentacle and it's not going to afflict anything. But you send your thing to Mars and it's going to hit. That's just not really so good. Alright, in number 15, I'm going to put our newest killer in the PK base. She's not out yet. The Artist. She has crows that she can send in a 16-meter radius, I think. And they can afflict crows, which you can see the outline of at all times when you're playing that killer. But yeah, if they are already affected by crows, it will damage them for a health state, and they will eventually go down, because not all survivors are good. So what I'd say to do in the Artist, try and place a crow at a loop, like 3 crows at a really strong loop, like Killer Shack, and then put one at this door, that door, and then the window. So then once the survivor hits one of them, and then you can send the other 2 at the survivor, afflicting a health state and a down, which will be really nice in that situation, because the Artist isn't really strong in any way possible. But yeah, moving on. In our number 14th spot, we have Mr. Deathslinger. He is never someone I've liked. He is a really weak killer, but his add-ons really redeem for that. For example, iridescent coin. If you shoot a survivor for over 15 meters away, which your spear is only 18 meters, they will be exposed. But 18 meters, and you can afflict a deep wound status effect is nice, and you can hit over windows as well. That's pretty helpful, but I wouldn't really recommend that Slinger at all. He's not really anyone you should gravitate towards. If you're gonna start with anyone, start with maybe Oni. He came out in the chapter before him, and he's stronger than him. So yeah, don't play that Slinger. He's not someone I've ever liked playing or going up against, because like I've said in my videos, I fucking hate Death Slingers. They're the most annoying people on this planet. So just don't play Death Slinger. It's not that hard. Just don't. Such a bad killer. Right. Coming in at number 13, we have Executioner. So his ability is called Rites of Judgment. When he's placing them into the floor, he creates a trail of barbed wire that entrails the ground. And it's really, really strong if you know how to use it properly. So you place it into the floor and try and cut the survivors off so they become tormented. Then hit them twice with a punishment of the damned in your basic ability. And then send them off to a cage, which is a passive ability for the death's, I forgot his name for a minute then. Which is a passive ability for Executioner. So, yeah, I don't mind that entirely. He's really strong. Alright, so coming in at our number 13 spot, we have the Plague. So the Plague has a nice little ability. So she can spread her vile purge on everything. For example, vaults, pallets, generators, even lockers, which is really nice for her. And if a survivor interacts with too much vile purge, they will become afflicted with the broken status effect, which means they won't be able to heal. So the Plague has a nice ability, and then once the survivor cleanses, which fully heals them and takes away the broken status effect, the Plague will see the aura of that in white, and then it won't be normal water anymore. It will be the Corrupt Purge, which is a second little ability, which lets her do the exact same thing as the Vile Purge, just not spread on anything but survivors, and she can damage survivors. I can't talk anymore. She can damage survivors with it and down survivors, which is nice for her. So I would recommend Plague. I'd say she's a top 15 killer. So moving on. In number 12, we have Mikael Myers. He's a nice killer to start with when you're starting the game. He's a stealth killer, and he starts completely undetectable from everyone. When he starts the trial, he has no terror radius and no red stain until he hits tier 2, which gives him a terror radius, a red stain, but he can lunge and move slightly faster than before. And then he has his tier 3 stage, which afflicts the exposed status effect to everyone left in the trial. And he can do an extra big lunge instead of just a normal 2 centimeter lunge. You can do a long lunge, like 5 centimeters. It's nice for him. I'd say Michael's a nice little killer to start with. And the only downside about him is that he's about 12 foot tall. So everyone will see him in the map. So yeah, moving on. In number 11, we have the Doctor. He is free on console, on every console, but he is actual Ares Shards on PC and for Excels, I guess. He's only free on console, so if you're a PC player, you're gonna have to grind to get him. So what his ability is, it's Carter Spark. So his first ability is Shock Therapy, which lets him sorry, which lets him send out a giant shock around the entire map, increasing everyone's madness to madness tier 1, 2, 3. So in tier 1, nothing happens, but you can, and then in tier 2 you see illusions of the Doctor, and you begin to do nothing, really. And then in tier 3, you cannot use your items or heal, but you can still unhook, and that's about it. And you can still vault and drop out and do gems, but all of the skill checks are going to be like inverted in some way. So I'd say bring like oppression with it. Yeah, oppression. Let's say twins perk. So when you damage a gem, the next skill check is going to be really hard. And if they're afflicted with madness tier 1, 2, or 3, they will get a really difficult skill check, and it might even be reversed and in a different location of the screen, which is nice for the Doctor. So I would recommend him. He's a nice killer, and his abilities are quite powerful. His second ability is shock therapy, but it only sends us a little spark of things around it, but it takes 2 of them to increase in madness tier instead of 1. So it stops survivors from vaulting and dropping pallets for 4 seconds if you hit it, which is actually good. Because then if you shock them as they're about to drop a pallet, you can get up and get a free M1 because they cannot drop a pallet because you have shocked them with shock therapy. So I would recommend Doctor. So yeah, moving on. In number 10, we have none other than the stealthiest killer in the game, the Ghostface. He is dark clothing, really stealthy. His ability is called Night Shroud. He can go into stealth mode, and then he can stalk survivors. And if he fully stalks a survivor, without leaning, it's 5 seconds, but with leaning, it's 2.5. But then he will afflict the exposed status effect, and he will mark the survivor for 45 seconds. And if the survivor does not survive that timer, they will go down instantly. Nice for the Ghostface. His ability's nice. I'd recommend him. But he is Ares, not Ares. He is RXLs, which is the one downside. There's the slide. So, Ghostface, good killer. I love the Ghostface. I recommend, he's one of the funnest killers in the game. If you are wearing like a dark mask with this classic Ghostface outfit, then that will be really strong for you, because you will not be able to be seen. And the survivors can only reveal you from up to 32 meters, but you can stalk from 40 meters, which is a nice little buff. But once you do lose your ability, it's gone for 30 seconds. So yeah, I recommend Ghostface. He's really fun, one of the funnest killers in the game. But he's not the strongest. He is quite strong, just not the strongest. So if you can, I recommend getting him. Like, maybe instead of, for example, like Cenobite, which one of the weaker killers that's licensed. Alright, so at number 9 we have the Wraith. He is a starter killer, and his ability is cloaking. So when he's cloaked, he is basically invisible for about 20 meters. So once you do uncloak, it takes 3 seconds to uncloak, but then you get a really nice speed boost to recover from the slowdown of uncloaking. But then after, if you do cloak, 3.75 seconds to recloak without add-ons, I'm pretty sure. So if you do want to get if you do want to play as Wraith, he is starter killer alongside Trapper, Hillbilly, Nurse, and Huntress. I would highly recommend the Wraith. He is such a strong killer. He has normal lunge, normal standard 32 meters radius. He becomes completely undetectable while cloaked as well, which is really nice. So if you do decide Wraith, brilliant choice. Moving on. At number 8, we have the Hillbilly. So he is just like the Wraith, the starter killer. He is also a chainsaw killer, but when he's in a chainsaw sprint, he moves at a nice 9.2 meters per second, which is so fast in the Dead by Daylight. Like, you can cover so much distance in 3 seconds. So I would recommend playing Hillbilly. He's a really good killer, and he insta-downs people with a chainsaw, but the only downside, you cannot curve. I don't know. You can, but it's really hard. And if you do hold your chainsaw for 20 seconds, it overheats. But it only takes like 5 seconds just to get back down, so quite nice. Hillbilly recommendation. Really good killer to start off with. Yeah. Pretty sure that's it about the Hillbilly. So, yeah, moving on. Yeah, so number 7 is going to the Huntress. So, what Huntress' ability is her hatchets. She is the first range killer to be added into the game. Really good killer. Highly recommended. I love playing Huntress. She's really nice. Really strong killer. Fun. All around good killer. Yeah. You can hit really insane trick shots with this person. It's really fun, and if you can literally hit like 720 no scope and snipe someone across the map with her head, which is probably one of the best feelings of playing Huntress. So she has really strong add-ons. I'll just name 3. Iridescent Head. 1 hatchet, you can insta-down survivors with that 1 hatchet, but maximum 1. Infantry Belt, you can carry 7 hatchets at a time, but it doesn't count that with Iridescent Head, because that's just weird. And number 3, Flower Babushka, you can charge up your hatchets really fast. So, best 2 combo for the add-ons, Flower Babushka and Infantry Belts. Them 2 pair really well together. 2 add-ons in combination, brilliant. You can only get 1, that's fine. I'd recommend the Infantry Belt. 7 hatchets at a time is so good. So yeah, recommend leveling Huntress up. The bad thing about her and Wraith, both of their perks are beyond terrible. Beast of Prey, when you hit Bloodlust level 1, you become undetectable, useless. Territorial Imperative, you get a notification when someone enters the basement, useless. And what even is the final perk? I don't even know a final perk, it's that bad. Alright, so in number 5, I've mixed up it a little bit, I've done 2 people at the same list by accident. So in number 5, we have the Hag. She has some of the strongest perks in the game. Third Seal, not so much. Devour Hope, top tier. Ruin, top tier. Ruin when all 3 of them are hexes, by the way, because Hag brought hexes into the game, so that makes sense. I would recommend Hag. She's a free killer on console, but not on PC. So, if you're a PC player, unlucky for you, you gotta buy a Hag to get access to Hag's Ruin. But she's still a really strong killer without any perks. Her ability is called, what's it called? It's called Blackened Catalyst. So she's the second trap killer in the game. She can place down a little triangle on the floor, and then someone walks over it within 40 meters of you. You can literally just teleport to her and get a free hit on the survivor. But if you're out 40 meters, unlucky for you, you can also trap hex totems, exit gates, and generators on people on the hook, which is really nice. Hag is such a strong killer in my opinion. So yeah, she's coming in at number 5. Alright. At number 4, of all the killers in the game, comes the Blight. he is such a strong killer. Like, his ability, like when he came out in the PTB, he wasn't that strong. But now he's in the real game, one of the strongest killers in the game. Like, top 5. I love the Blight, he's such a good killer. Hex Blood Favor, like, decent. It blocks all pallets in a certain range when you injure them. Just, where's the nearest pallet? It's dropped. And his second perk, Dragon's Grip, mediocre perk. And his final perk, Hex Undying, God tier, probably the best perk in the game, by far, best Hex. You can protect any Hex totem. Say you're running, for example, Hex, what are you gonna run? Hex Without Hope, you have 5 stacks, everyone's exposed, you can Mori them. You can insta-Mori them. Undying. Someone finds your Hex totem and they cleanse it. Oh, poor Devour Hope. Nope. Hex Undying will transfer Hex Devour Hope to another dull totem on the map. And then it takes Hex Undying away instead. Really strong. I love his pair. Honestly, he's such a good killer. That is such a bad move though. He is such a good killer. He's in the top 5 by far. So strong. Beyond strong. Like, his Blighted Serum. His rush ability. So good. I haven't even talked about his ability yet. So you can rush, and if you bounce into an object, you can bounce off it and then do a lethal rush. And then you can attack survivors. You only have 5 of these charges, so you can only bump into 5 different things. And then your ability stops and he injects the Blight Serum and then your ability's over. Yeah, really good ability. You can hit some insane plays with it. I love his ability. And you can make so much distance with it. Such a good killer. Honestly. Alright, moving on. Number 3, we have none other than himself, Mr. Big Man, Oni. Honestly, Oni. Top tier. Injure a survivor, they drop blood on the floor, and then, they drop blood on the floor, you can absorb that blood, and then you can get your ability, what's it called, I don't even know what it's called, Yamoka's Wrath. Mr. Oni Hazan Yamoka can go into a blood fury. And he screams, and then he becomes a demon with red eyes, red smoke, what am I keep swinging? Red smoke. And then he has the choice of Demon Dash or Demon Strike. You can just do a normal M1 with Demon Strike, normal Injure. But if you hold down that ability, that extends that to an Insta Down, but it takes like 3 seconds to charge. Or you can do a Demon Strike. If you do a Demon Strike, Demon Dash, sorry. You can run around, slide off objects, and you can go anywhere, and then you hit the M1, Auto, RT, whatever you're playing on. Nintendo Switch, like, yeah. You can literally just full on down them. Just, yeah, insta down. Oni, so strong. I don't know if I put him below the Blight, but I wouldn't. I'd say Oni's just a teeny bit better than the Blight. Alright, moving on. Number 2. I'm pretty sure you know who's going to be the top 2 killers. It's the same in every single tier list. It's either in this order or the opposite order. So, I'm putting Nurse at number 2. Only because her fatigue after doing a blink, it's so short, and she's been thrown down to only 2 blinks, which is not nice. Her ability is Spencer's Last Breath. She can blink, avoid everything in the realm, pallets, windows, jack, and she can just teleport through everything besides out of the map. And then she can get a sneaky attack as soon as she blinks, but then she goes into like this fatigue and it slows her down for like 2-3 seconds. And she has a similar thing to the Wraith, if she gets a flashlight shone at her while she is trying to blink, then she becomes burnt, just like the Wraith when he's cloaked. I like that feature. It makes it so they're bounced. It stuns her for a little bit, just like the Wraith stuns her for about 5 seconds. It's a nice little passive. I'd recommend the Nurse. She's a free killer. Comes along with the game. Just like Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, Nurse, and Huntress. They're the base colors of the game. Alright, now moving on. You guessed it. Number 1, the Spirit. It's either this or the Spirit than Nurse. I'm putting Spirit higher than Nurse because she doesn't have a fatigue. No cooldown at all for the Spirit. She can... I don't know explain her ability. Yamoka's Haunting. So, she can phase walk, and she's just a ghost, and say the Spirit's standing here, and she's in a phase walk, she can, her body stays standing there, but she's moving around, and then she can get sneak attacks on survivors, easily. But then, and cool little tactic, if you do see a Spirit always phasing a lot, then be aware, because they could just be standing still. So you can fake a phase walk by standing still as the Spirit, and then the survivors will think you're phasing, and they will walk towards you, and you'll get an M1 on them easily. Yeah, really strong. Honestly, the Spirit deserves to be first. Like, either first or second or third. Spirit is top 3 killers, always. So is Nurse. And either Oni, Blight, or Hag. They're the top 5 best cars in the whole game. Recommend all of them. The only downside is... Wait, actually, you don't need to buy any of them with real money. All of them are Eerie Shards. So, level up 9,000 iridescent shards. You can get the Spirit, you can get the Oni, you can get the Hag, or you can get the Blight. Or if you're on console, then you don't need to get the Hag, because she's free. Yeah, so that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, drop your own lists in the comments below. This is my opinion, so don't get tired if your favourite killer's Freddy and throw him right at the bottom. No offense, but he's not the best killer in the game. Yeah, so drop your own opinions in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed, so I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. Yes, I escaped and got a 4K. I'm not that bad at the game.